I'm learning that through the course that I'm taking at Capella University, I've learned that there was something called the Elizabethan Poor Law of 1601 that was created in England and in Wales, where the Catholic and the Protestant churches were given as overseers. And the twist of it is, think about it. The churches were given the authority of issuing benefits to the poor, the disabled, the children that were adults that needed money and aid, and they were given to overseers. And if you go back into the law, I took down some notes, and basically I'm going to read to you what it is, and you guys are more than welcome to give me some feedback. It was like, the Elizabethan Poor Laws of 1601 was a system that was state-supported relief in England and Wales. The Poor Laws established a mandatory local poor tax and the role of overseers to the poor that within each parish, which is the church, right, will collect funds to provide aid to the aged, the sick, the disabled, for those who received outdoor relief, aid at home, and all those sent to institutions. Does that sound familiar? And able-bodied individuals were expected to work in workhouses in exchange for support. Now, the law was placing responsibility on parishes, and they were appointing the two overseers, like I said, each parish, and they were given the task of with accessing the needs of the poor to raise funds through mandatory poor rate tax on landowners, right? During the Elizabethan Law of 1601, there was categorized groups: the important poor, which basically were the sick, elderly, and disabled, who were placed through home assistance. Then there were those able-bodied poor, who were capable of working but unable to find employment. Does this sound familiar? So they were set to work in the workforce to earn their keep. And finally, the indigent children, who were recommended and placed to work in work-oriented apprenticeships. Then they have the mandatory pay rate, where property owners were taxed local to fund these relief efforts. And finally, workhouses, which were established to provide indoor relief in exchange for labor for able-bodied individuals. Now, if we sit here and we say, what kind of work is this? This embodies the human resources and Department of Social Services here in the United States. And I say this because able-bodied people are now expected to work for their food stamps and their Medicaid, and they are put into reform programs so they can be able to keep their benefits and still being a productive person in society. Now, back when Franklin Roosevelt developed the welfare system, it was developed because of the World War II and how women needed to survive while their partners and husbands and fathers of their children were put to war. Now, and the GI Bill and all this was created. Now, we have to say to ourselves, as the welfare reform program evolved and new ways trying to get people to be off the system back into the 1970s, when people were coming in and out, social workers coming into your homes to make sure that you had the basic necessities that you had. Now, when they did the WEP program, which was called the Work Experience Program, my mother was part of that program. And when I was 17 years old, I worked in summer youth, and I was put into the Department of General Services. In that department, where I was assigned to, I actually gave me the responsibility to get in contact with individuals that were part of that WP program, when it first was the pilot program. And my job was to find out and interview them and videotape them and to see it if the work experience program, pilot program, actually helped them to maintain their jobs that they were given. They were given the skills and the schooling to be able to be in society and work with and stay with the job that they were given, or did they return back to welfare? And if so, how long after did it happen? If it benefited them or didn't benefit them? What was the result? Now you ask yourself now, 2025, Donald Trump wants people to work for their food stamp program. So, and he says able-bodied individuals. So, ask yourself, is the United States on a virtual timeline where we are borrowing from Peter and Paul to try to put the United States back on track, where a lot of people will not be getting government assistance? And if so, if the disabled and the elderly, as we are exempt off from this, where is the originality when every time I turn around, our United States system is always mimicking something from another part of history or from another country? Where's the originality that we have to come up with a system that is going to work, where we will be able to help our United States government, where, like right now, I am an individual who is disabled. I may not look it, but I sit down and I lay down in a lot of my videos because I have an autoimmune disease that riddles my body with pain. So sometimes I'm sitting, sometimes I don't have my hair done, sometimes I'm able to move around. And I'm grateful, very grateful, that I am able to be taken care of because I have worked in this world. And a lot of people do take advantage of the system. And I do believe that wholeheartedly open. And they make it bad for the people that need it and the children that really need to be fed. Now look at the chaos that we're in right now, because they're trying to differentiate who's the working class, who's not the working class, who's able to work, who's not able to work, who's selling food stamps, who's buying food stamps, who's not buying food for their kids, who's trying to economize. But, it's all up in the air. But make it make sense, people. Why is it that we are in a state of flux that doesn't make sense? Help us. Anybody with any ideas, please feel free to leave comments. I will shout you out and I will answer them. As you reply, I will answer you. And I will try to get back to everybody. I will make a general post or another video and shout as many people as I can that do give me that actually answers my post. Thank you.